Welcome to another Learning to Read video drum lesson series. This lesson focuses on the topic of eighth notes. In this lesson, we're going to be using the beat sheet titled Suite Quarters and Eighths No. 1. You can get that on onlinedrummer.com. Quarter notes are called quarter notes because they take up a quarter or 1/4 of the measure. 4 quarter notes fit in the entire measure. One of them takes up a quarter of the measure. Eighth notes are called eighth notes because 8 eighth notes can fit in a measure. With that being said, you can see that there are twice as many eighth notes as there are quarter notes in a measure. And likewise, they're played twice as fast as the quarter notes are so that you can fit them into the measure. To get you started playing the eighth notes, I'm going to show you how to count the eighth notes as compared to quarter notes. I'm going to get the metronome going. And if you remember, the quarter notes were played on every count, like this.
3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Since the eighth notes are twice as fast, you're also going to have to play another hit in between each count. And we count that by saying an and. So instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, we're adding an and in between each one. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. It's important that your numbers are still right on time with the metronome. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, but the and is evenly spaced in between each number. Let me show you what I mean by that.
1, 2, 3
and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. When 2 eighth notes are connected together, they look like this. You'll notice that there's one beam or bar connecting both notes. It sort of looks like 2 quarter notes with a beam on top connecting both. That beam tells you that this note is an eighth note, and it's played twice as fast or takes up half the space as a quarter note does. If an eighth note is by itself and it's not attached to any other note, that beam just dangles down and it looks like this. That's an eighth note still, but it's by itself. Take a look at your Suite Quarters and Eighths 1 beat sheet, line number 1. You'll first see that this is in the 4/4 time signature, like we've been working with, and that simply means, for review, that there's 4 counts in the measure and that a quarter note gets each one of those counts. The first note you see is a quarter note. It's just a stem, there's no beam, and the note head is filled in. The second note you see has a beam connected to it, which means it's an eighth note. Any note that has a beam connected to it, one beam, is an eighth note. The third note you see is an eighth note. The fourth note you see is a quarter note. The fifth note is an eighth note. And the sixth note is an eighth note. Since the first note is a quarter note, I'm going to play on count 1, and a quarter note takes up the whole count 1. So I got 1 all the way to 2. Now 2 has an eighth note on it, and the eighth note only takes up half of the count because 8 of them have to fit in the measure. So this is when I'm going to play the next note on the and. So I have 1, 2, and. Notice it was twice the speed as the quarter note. 1, 2, and. Now since on the and count, which is the third note, it's an eighth note. It has a beam connected to it. The next thing I have that I play is going to be on count 3. 1, 2, and 3. Since count 3 is a quarter note, it takes up all of count 3, so I do not play on the and. I have 3, and the next note that I play on will be 4. 4 is an eighth note. It only takes up half of the count. Therefore, I have to play on the and of 4, and it's another eighth note, and. Let me play the first measure for you. Measure 1 sounds like this. 1, 2, and 3, 4, and. Take a look at the second measure. Number 1 is a quarter note, and you're very comfortable playing with the quarter notes. So you play on 1, count 2 is a quarter rest, so you'll just count it and you won't play. Count 3, we have those 2 eighth notes, so we play on the 3 and then count 4, we have a quarter note, 4. So the whole measure would sound like this, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Looking at measure 3, you see count 1 has the 2 eighth notes, so we're going to be playing on 1 and. Count 2 is just a quarter note, and the quarter note takes up all of count 2. Count 3 are the 2 eighth notes, so we play 3 and then count 4 is a quarter note. We play on 4, and that's it. I'll play measure 3 for you. 1 and 2, 3 and 4. Measure 4 is counted 1, 2, and 3, 4. And 4 has a quarter rest on it, so you won't be playing on count 4. I'll show you what that sounds like. 1, 2, and 3, 4. Remember that at the end you have those 2 dots with the line and the thicker line. That's a repeat sign, and that means to go all the way back to the beginning of the line and play it again. If you remember, we're starting with our right hand, and we're using alternating sticking, going right, left, right, left, right, left. And then on the repeats, no matter where we end up, right or left, we're going to start over with beginning with our left. That way we develop independence in both hands and strength in both hands. Try playing line number 1 along with me. 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, and 4, 1, and 2, 3, and 4, 1, 2, and 3. Now start with your left. 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, and 4, 1, and 2, 3, and 4, 1, 2, and 3, 4. On line number 2, what you see are 4 eighth notes connected with the beam. It doesn't matter if there's 4 of them or 2 of them or 8 of them or whatever. If they're connected with one beam, then they're eighth notes. Count 1, you have 2 notes, 2 eighth notes, so it's 1 and. On count 2, there's 2 eighth notes, you have 2 and on count 3, you have a quarter note, 3, and count 4, you have a quarter rest. You count it, but you don't play. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. Measure 2, on count 1, we have 2 eighth notes, 1 and. Count 2 is a quarter note, 2. Count 3 is a quarter note, 3. And count 4 is a quarter rest. You just count it and you don't play. Let's play number 2 together. 1, 2, ready, go. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. 1 and 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2, 3 and 4. 1, 2 and 3. Repeat. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. 1 and 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2, 3 and 4. 1, 2 and 3, 4. Line number 3 can be a bit more tricky because measure 2 of line 3 and measure 3 of line 3. Measure 2 ends with eighth notes and measure 3 begins with eighth notes. So it runs right over from 4 and to 1 and. So 4 and 1 and 2. You need to be careful there. Let's try playing line number 3 together. 1, 2, ready, go. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Repeat. Start with the left. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. With line number 4, we start getting into some fun stuff. You'll see on measure 2, measure 3, and measure 4 of line 4 that there are X's above the staff there, and those X's mean to play on the rim. We're using alternating sticking in all of these. We're going right, left, and even when you go to the rim, you're still going to keep your alternating sticking. Take a look at measure 2 of line 4. Measure 2 is going to sound like this. On count 1, you have 2 eighth notes, 1 and. Count 2, you have a quarter note, 2. Count 3, you have a quarter note, 3. And then on count 4, you have 2 eighth notes, but they're on the rim, 4 and. It's exactly the same thing as playing on the drum head, but now you're playing on the rim. Let's try to play line number 4 together. 1, 2, ready, go. 1 and 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2, 3. Repeat. Start with the left. 1 and 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2, 3, 4. might have been a little bit tricky because you're switching back and forth between the drum head and the rim. It's something else to think about. So make sure you work on that a few times through before you go on. Line number 5, we have even more playing on the rim. And it may take a few times working through it slowly to get it because it is a lot to focus on and to think about. Before we play it together, take a look at measure 2 of line 5. Measure 2, you have 2 regular drum head hits, and then you have 2 rim hits. Now they're all connected with a beam, which means that they are eighth notes. It just looks a little different than before. Let's play line number 5. 1, 2, ready, go. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4. 1, and 2, and 3, 4. 1, and 2, 3, and repeat. Start with the left. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4. 1, and 2, and 3, 4. 1, and 2, 3, 4. Line number 6 introduces one more topic briefly. It's called the accent. Look at measure 2 of line 6, and the last note written is a quarter note, and above it you see this little caret looking thing or an arrow. That is an accent sign, and that means to make that note, whatever it's over, stand out. It means to play it louder. So this is an unaccented note, and these would be accented. They stand out. They're louder than the other notes. So when you see that, hit that note harder or louder than the other notes. Let's play line number 6. 1, 2, ready, go. 1, and 2, 3, and 4. 1, and 2, 3, and 4. 1, and 2, and 3, and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Repeat. 1, and 2, 3, and 4. 1, and 2, 3, and 4. 1, and 2, and 3, and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's how to get through it. Practice that a bit and get comfortable with it, and then go on to this next part of the lesson. I'm going to play these through a bit faster at 100 beats per minute. Number 1. 1, 2, ready, go. 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1, and 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, and 3. Start with your left. 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1, and 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, and 3, 4. Number 2. 1, 2, ready, go. 1, and 2, and 3, 4. 1, and 2, 3, 4. 1, and 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, and 3, and repeat. 1, and 2, and 3, 4. 1, and 2, 3, 4. 1, and 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, and 3, 4. Line number 3. 1, 2, ready, go. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, repeat. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Line number 4. 1, 2, ready, go. 1, and 2, 3, 4. 1, and 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, and 2, 3. Start left. 1, and 2, 3, 4. 1, and 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, and 2, 3, 4. Line number 5. 1, 2, ready, go. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4. 1, and 2, and 3, 4. 1, and 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4. 1, and 2, and 3, 4. 1, and 2, 3, 4. Line number 6. 1, 2, ready, go. 1, and 2, 3, and 4. 1, and 2, 3, and 4. 1, and 2, and 3, and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, and 2, 3, and 4. 1, and 2, 3, and 4. 1, and 2, and 3, and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And there you have it. Those are eighth notes, and you also learned a little bit about playing accents and playing on the rim. I hope you enjoyed this lesson and learned from it. Keep drumming.